When Willie Lynch was among us in 1712, this man was a scientist of evil. He was a mind scientist. Did you hear me? His goal when he came, he was hired into America as a business consultant. Slavery is a business. I ain't say was, I said is. Slavery is a business. What is the goal of any business owner? The goal of a business owner is to figure out a way to make profit, right? But by means of not having to be there to put in your own sweat equity and your physical presence necessary in order for you to get your product resolved. Is that right? So every business owner has a goal to turn what they call their business into a turnkey operation. So business owners, they make rules and policies, programs and pamphlets, don't they? They create job descriptions and positions that they can put in motion, that paperwork can keep the system going, while they don't have to be there physically making sure the job gets done. Well, question is, if slavery is a business, then the goal of a slave master is to turn us into a turnkey operation, where the slaves, as he said, will become self-refueling, self-perpetuating for 300 years, maybe even 1,000. Look at the program now. He said, Willie Lynch talking, I use fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes. You didn't hear me. He's using fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes. That means that he is adjusting the mind to receive a command from another location without him having to have a wire touching it. When you want to control or have what's called remote control, the device that you want to control has to be calibrated to a certain frequency to receive only commands from the handheld. Did you hear me? Willie Lynch said that he's going to use fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes, but Allah, God, said that whenever he created man in the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. So the proper calibration of the mind is power, love, and self-discipline. When one has power, love, and self-discipline, even if Satan pushed the button, we won't hear his call. Did you hear me? But if one's mind has been restructured to a new frequency, where now they have commands that are ordering their mind contrary to the nature in which it was created. Now by envy, fear, and distrust, when Marcus Garvey spoke, we didn't get the signal. Did we? When the most honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke, we didn't respond to the signal like we should. When the minister speaks, we're not responding to the signal like we should. Why? Because our enemy has recalibrated the frequency of our mind. Well, we are programmed now to only receive commands and instructions from our 400-year-old enemy. But this man, Jesus, he's coming back. He is back. He's present in the world. You've seen him, you heard him, you listened to him, you looked at him. And he's a man that's designed to get the brain back and the mind back calibrated. That whenever we hear the words of Allah and the button is pushed, we respond. And when the enemy pushed the button, since our frequency is different, we won't even be able to hear it. You all right? He goes on to say to us that God breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. He said when this happened, Allah was giving him, Adam, his mind. Did y'all hear me? On August 27th, verse 251, I love quoting my book. This book named Farrakhan is my favorite book I ever read. You better leave my book alone too. We die for this book, and we'll kill for this book. Because in this book there is no doubt in it. He is a guide for those who keep their duty, who believe in the unseen, who give out of what they have in charity. and of the hereafter they are sure. So we leave my book alone, unless you won't handle it right. You all right? So this book, on August 27, verse 251, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, if Adam was born into the atmosphere, God wouldn't have a need to breathe into him. Not for him to live. If he was born into the atmosphere, then he's already able to inhale the oxygen to breathe. He said, this means that God gave him wisdom from his mind that he might master the environment that he came in. See, the Holy Quran backs up the minister. In Surah 2 verse 30, it says when Adam was being created, that he placed a ruler in the earth. He didn't place a slave. He didn't place a Negro. He didn't place an average person. He didn't place someone mediocre. It said he placed a ruler in the earth. And ruler in Hebrew is Elohim. And Elohim means God. So in other words, Allah is saying, I'll put myself in the first man. Did you hear me? Well, something happened. Because we went from being the master of everything in creation, we went from being the creator of circumstances to becoming a creature of circumstances. Well, what happened with Adam? Adam rebelled. Y'all still with me? Once he rebelled, then he began to short circuit the power of this native mind, this original mind, or what the scripture calls the spiritual mind that God had given this man. Y'all still with me? The spiritual mind, the scripture says, is fashioned after love, joy, peace, long-suffering, goodness, faith, meekness, gentleness, and temperance. And after that mind had been put to sleep, then we was left with being fed by another source. Did you hear me? Yes, sir. And the scripture says that there was two minds present in the man. One is called the spiritual mind and one's called the carnal mind. Did you hear me? The carnal mind, according to the scripture, is formed, or the fruits of the carnal mind are envy, strife, and division. Now, if Willie Lynch said that he's going to use fear, envy, and distrust for control purposes, doesn't that sound just like the carnal mind? So what the slave maker is saying is that I'm giving the slave masters in America a foolproof plan. This plan is designed to nurture and develop and feed the carnal mind in black people. In other words, I'm going to take a people that were born the direct descendants of the supreme being, gods of the universe, kings and queens, and I'm going to turn them into something less than man, less than God, down on the level of a beast by feeding a carnal mind. Y'all still with me? So it says that whenever Adam rebelled, that all in Adam died. Everything on the outside was still intact. He still could smell, touch, taste, breathe, feel, walk, make babies. He was doing it all. But he was no longer considered a living soul. In fact, before God had breathed into him, he was already in existence. But there's a big difference between existing and living. To exist just means that you're here, you're functioning. We eat and sleep and work and going back to sleep, eat, sleep, work, go back to sleep. That's existing. But in order to be alive, you cannot just be in existence by eating, sleeping, working, going to sleep. You have to have love in your heart, kindness, meekness, the spirit of faith in the heart. When one is alive, they are a living soul. Well, this man